Igbo leaders' demand for release of Nmdi Kanu and President Buhari's response. The coalition of northern groups representing the vast equation of rights and civil organizations in northern Nigeria has taken stock of events unfolding since the arrest and repatriation of Nmdi Kanu, the fugitive leader of the outlawed indigenous people of Biafra. We especially note with deep sense of concern the unrelenting desperation by certain interest groups in the southeast to subvert the due process of justice and tamper with judicial processes since Kanu's arraignment. This level of desperation to abort Kanu's trial for masterminding series of mindless violence and separatism through the force of arms and terrorist tactics got to a peak with the recent visit by a certain highly respected Igbo greats led by a 93-year-old First Republic parliamentarian and Minister of Aviation, Mbazulike Amechi, to demand from President Muhammadu Buhari his unconditional release. Of particular concern is the President's ambiguous, careless response in which he tended to make a specific promise to consider that heinous and unpatriotic demand rooted in a history of evolving terror, the NSAS protests, and openly incited the callous, dehumanizing, cannibalistic murder of about 250 security personnel and the raising of hundreds of police stations, security facilities, and private businesses of Nigerians from other parts of the country. His incitement to violence and destruction in the wake of the NSAS protests replayed long-practiced tactics in the form of more coordinated attacks against northerners and against agents and symbols of the federal government of Nigeria in the southeast and parts of the south-south. Unprovoked evictions, attacks and killings of northerners in various parts of the south resulted from the hate campaigns and propaganda being conducted by Kanu and other regional and ethnic agitators. Since early 2021, Kanu continued to play a major role in the ongoing insurgency in southeastern Nigeria as his eastern security network battled the nation's security forces. Throughout these years, the Igbo leaders who are today all over the place seeking his unconditional release never deemed it necessary to call him to order or create any distance from his atrocious activities against the state and collective mayhem against Nigerians and the North. Our observations. The latest desperation by the Igbo leaders to free Kanu and Buhari's disturbing pledge to consider the plea inadvertently leads to the following inevitable observations. 1. The composition of the Igbo elders group has vindicated the position we have espoused since 2017 that the diabolical scheme planned and exhibited in the criminal actions of Kanu and IPOB is fully supported morally and politically by the vast majority of the pliant Igbo elders, elites, politicians, religious leaders, traditional rulers, business persons, and the larger population of the Southwest. 2. The group's demand and the President's promise represent nothing short of a grand conspiracy to condone and impose an agenda of destruction and collective mayhem seen in the several unreasonable and unacceptable actions that have been perpetuated against the Nigerian state and people by Kanu. 3. The demand and Buhari's disturbing promise to consider it without minding the number of soldiers, policemen, and thousands of other innocent Nigerians already murdered and presently physically threatened by IPOB terrorists on the express orders of Kanu suggest a lack of sense of responsibility on the part of those in power. 4. Buhari's response to the Igbo leaders' demand could also signal a dangerous endorsement of the amassing of the huge number of arms already imported by IPOB terrorists and their sponsors, which are already being used to cause mayhem across the country. Number 5, the president's body dance towards acceding to the demands for Kanu's release suggests that he has lost the statesmanship and courage to uphold the universal principle of separation of powers between the executive and the judiciary. Number 6, this has also further exposed the extent of complicity and docility of our clerics and other community leaders who were in the forefront of urging tolerance from northerners when they came under incessant attacks but could not find their voice to speak today. Resolutions. In view of the above stated facts and observations, the CNG hereby resolves: 1. To warn that any attempt by the President to accede to the demand to release without prosecuting and punishing Kanu will inadvertently reduce Nigeria to a completely lawless state where criminals of all shades will commit crimes against the country and then ask their traditional rulers and other regional or tribal leaders to press for their release. 2. We want President Buhari to reclaim his statesmanship by refusing to be cajoled into interfering with the standard principle of separation of powers and independence of the judiciary. Number 3, we warn that the North would no longer remain idle when its people are deliberately targeted and massacred while the perpetrators are shielded by criminal tribal bigots who pose as leaders. Number 4, we warn President Buhari that the North has today realized that he places more premium on the pursuit for votes and political popularity for his party than he does for the sanctity of lives of northerners and security personnel who stake their lives and welfare of families in the service of the nation. Number 5, to warn that the North would hold Buhari responsible for the blood of its people unlawfully shed through the activities of Kanu in the event he succumbs to Igbo pressure to release him. Number 5 and the last one. Number 6 and the last. We demand the arrest and prosecution of those Igbo leaders and any other group or individual who are involved in this complicity to get Kanu freed by subverting the course of justice as accomplices and sponsors of the many atrocities and crimes committed by Kanu against humanity and the Nigerian state.